Do you know what many men and women in their 80s and 90s regret the most? It's not money. It's not a career. It is love, marriage, and how they did or did not cherish their life partner. Statistics in the U.S. show that more than half of older adults say the one thing they wish they could go back and change is spending more time with the person they loved. And yet, we are often too busy, thinking there will always be more tomorrows to say I love you or thank you. But then, one day, tomorrow never comes. And before we dive into the 9 wisest pieces of advice from the elders, I have a small request for you. If you value these sharings, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you don't miss a single lesson. And if you agree that love matters more than anything else, comment with the number 1 below. If you don't agree, feel free to type 0. I would truly love to hear your thoughts. I remember Frank, an 88-year-old man I once met at a nursing home in California. He had lived with his wife, Mary, for 55 years. Together, they raised 3 children and weathered many hard days. But in the final years of his life, Frank confessed something to me that sent chills down my spine. I wish I had hugged her more, told her I loved her more. Now it's too late. After Mary passed away, Frank would sit alone on his porch, staring at the empty chair beside him, and he told me the feeling was like losing a piece of his heart. Frank's message is clear. Love does not sustain itself. It must be nurtured every day. When we are young, we think the presence of a spouse is a given. But in our 70s and 80s, every day together becomes a gift that cannot be bought at any price. Frank's story makes me believe this. Happiness in old age does not come from how much wealth you have, but from who is still sitting next to you to share a cup of tea. If you are in your 60s or 70s and are fortunate enough to still have a life partner, give them more of your care, more of your hand to hold. Don't let the day come when you look at an empty chair and whisper the words, if only. And you know, not everyone is lucky enough to walk the whole journey with their spouse. When loneliness knocks, it is friendship, relationships beyond marriage, that becomes the saving bridge. So let us move on to the next piece of advice about friendship and the loneliness of old age. There is a truth few want to face. The older we get, the smaller our circle of friends becomes. Not because we no longer need friends, but because time quietly takes many of them away. And then, loneliness becomes a shadow that many elderly men and women are never prepared to face. I once met Dorothy, now 91, at a community gathering in Texas. She told me she once had a group of close friends for over 40 years. They went to church together, baked together, shared every little joy. But now, only she remains. Every morning, when she opens the door to her yard, there is no longer anyone calling to ask, "How are you today?" Dorothy told me loneliness feels like an invisible disease, not one that kills instantly, but one that wears away your spirit and health day by day. And this is no exaggeration. Scientific studies have proven that loneliness in older adults has the same impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises the risk of heart disease, depression, and can even shorten life expectancy. That's why keeping your heart healthy is not only about exercise and diet, it's also about nurturing real connections. The advice from those who have gone before us is clear. Don't wait for friends to reach out to you. Be the one to take the first step. Join a community club, take a dance class, join a book group, or simply call an old friend. Friendship in old age doesn't need to be large in number. Just a few who truly listen, who genuinely care, are enough to keep life from feeling empty. Dorothy emphasized one thing I will never forget. We never really grow old if there is still someone to share laughter with. And she was right. Laughter with friends, even just an afternoon tea, can be the most precious medicine against loneliness. Yet friendship alone is not enough. Old age also reminds us of another truth. Health is not guaranteed. It is a treasure that must be guarded each and every day. And that is the next piece of advice the elders want to pass down. People often say, health is gold. But when we are young, we treat that phrase like a familiar slogan, easy to hear, easy to dismiss. Only when old age comes knocking do we truly realize that no amount of gold or wealth can buy back a healthy heart or a full breath. I remember Richard, 84, from Florida. He had once been a construction engineer, strong, always busy. His whole life was centered on work and providing for his family, and he rarely paid attention to the small signals from his body. He often ignored fleeting chest pains, sudden bouts of dizziness, thinking they were just normal signs of aging. Until one morning, while walking his dog, he collapsed from a heart attack. Fortunately, he was rescued in time. Lying in his hospital bed, Richard told me with a trembling voice, "I wish I had listened to the doctors sooner. I wish I had taken care of myself earlier." Richard's story reminds us of a truth. In our 70s and 80s, health does not come naturally. It must be cultivated and protected every day. Science has shown that maintaining light activity, such as walking 30 minutes daily, eating a balanced diet, and managing blood pressure and blood sugar can add many healthy years to your life. The key is not extreme workouts or harsh diets, but consistency with safe, sustainable habits. And I want to warn you, many people think that as long as they still feel strong, they can skip regular health checkups. But it is exactly that carelessness that steals away years of life. Treat every checkup as a gift to yourself and your family, because no one else but you will bear the responsibility for your own body. After his heart attack, Richard completely changed. He began taking slow morning walks, eating healthier, and miraculously, his health improved. He smiled and told me, "This time, I live not to work, but to enjoy each day." That made me believe. Taking care of your health is not just about living longer. It's about living more fully. And once health is stable, our minds can finally have the space to find peace. And that begins with learning to let go of the past and to forgive. And that is the next piece of advice I want to share. There is an invisible burden that many older people still carry in their hearts: resentments, painful memories, or mistakes never forgiven. The strange thing is, these emotional wounds do not fade with time. Instead, they silently erode both health and spirit. I will never forget the story of Eleanor, 88, who had lived her whole life in tension with her younger sister. They hadn't spoken in over 30 years, all because of a small dispute over inherited property. Eleanor told me that every time she thought about it, her heart would ache, and the anger burned just as fiercely as it had on the first day. But when she was hospitalized after a heart attack, she realized she had carried hatred inside her for far too long. Through tears, she said to me, "I wasted an entire lifetime holding on to a wound that could have been healed with a single word: forgiveness." Science also proves that harboring long-term anger and resentment can increase the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, and anxiety. In contrast, learning to forgive reduces stress, improves sleep, and can even extend life expectancy. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or excusing someone's mistakes. It means freeing yourself from the weight that clings to you. In the end, Eleanor chose to call her sister, simply to say, "I'm sorry, and I forgive you." It wasn't a long conversation, but it made her eyes shine brighter and brought a smile back to her wrinkled face. She told me that in that moment, she felt lighter than any medicine had ever made her feel. This is what many elders want to remind us. Don't wait until sickness or age forces you to let go. Forgive today, so your heart beats lighter, your soul rests easier, and the days you have left truly become worth living. And once the soul is freed, another lesson becomes clear. The value of gratitude, learning to cherish every little thing in life. That is the next piece of advice I will share. There is a secret many elders have shared with me. True happiness does not come from how much money or fame we have. It comes from being grateful for the small things right in front of us. But the strange thing is, most people only realize this too late. I once sat talking with Samuel, 90, a veteran living in Ohio. He told me that in his younger years, he always chased work, money, and big goals. But in old age, those things no longer seemed important. What makes me happiest now, he said, is simply waking up in the morning to see sunlight streaming through the window, to hear the birds sing, or to water the flowers in my yard with my own hands. Samuel shared that he once nearly died during heart surgery. From that day on, he began keeping a gratitude journal every night. Just 3 small things he felt thankful for each day, like, "Today I was able to walk to the park on my own," or "My grandchild called to check on me," were enough to make life feel lighter. He laughed and said, "I'm not getting older. I'm just collecting more reasons to be grateful." Modern science confirms this. People who practice gratitude tend to have lower stress levels, more stable blood pressure, and better sleep quality. Most importantly, they enjoy life more fully, even in old age. So if you are listening to me right now, try something very simple. Before you go to bed tonight, think of 3 things you are grateful for today. No matter how small, keep them in your heart. Because when we practice gratitude, we don't just enrich our own souls, we spread joy to those around us. And once we have learned gratitude, another truth becomes clear. The importance of family love, the place where life begins, and the place where it ends. That will be the next piece of advice I want you to hear. If there is one thing that most older people repeat again and again, it is this: never underestimate the value of love and family. When we are young, it is easy to be consumed by work, by career, by big ambitions. But at the end of life, what everyone longs to hold on to is not the money in their bank account, but the people willing to sit by their bedside, holding their hand. I remember Patricia, 91, from California. She had been a teacher all her life, raising 3 children. After her husband passed away, she fell into a long period of loneliness. She told me that for many years, she wandered alone in her large house, longing for the family dinners of the past. But then one day, when her 6-year-old granddaughter ran to hug her tightly and said, "Grandma, I love you so much," she realized that love was still all around her. She just hadn't opened her heart to receive it. From that day on, she spent more time with her family, joining meals, trips, and little by little, joy returned to her eyes. There is a warning I want to share. Many people only realize the value of family when the chance to be together is already gone. I have met elderly men and women who wept with regret. "I wish I had called my children more often," or "I wish I had spoken words of love instead of just expecting others to understand." But love, if never expressed, is like a beautiful flower that no one sees before it withers. Family is never perfect. Everyone has conflicts, arguments, or misunderstandings. But above all, it is still the place to return to, the place where you are loved for simply being who you are. And at the end of life, nothing brings more peace than sitting among your children and grandchildren, hearing their laughter fill the air, and feeling warmth spread throughout the home. And once we truly understand the value of family love, we see another truth just as important: faith and spirituality. The very thing that has carried countless generations through hardship, illness, and the fears of old age. And that is the next piece of advice I want to share with you. One thing many elders have shared is that the older we get, the more we need a strong anchor for the spirit. That anchor may be religion, faith, or simply a deep connection with nature and life itself. For when the body begins to weaken, what sustains the soul is faith and inner peace. I remember Richard, 87, a retired carpenter in Texas. After his wife passed away, he spent many years in emptiness and grief. But then, he found comfort by joining a small prayer group at his town's church. He told me that every time he sang hymns with his elderly friends, his heart felt lighter, as if an invisible strength was helping him keep moving forward. "Faith," he said, "doesn't make me young again, but it makes me less afraid whenever I think about my last day." Science also shows that those who maintain a positive spiritual life are less prone to anxiety and depression, and they enjoy better mental health. It is not just blind belief. It is a kind of medicine that helps the heart and mind find balance. For many people, that means reading the Bible or chanting prayers each morning. For others, it may simply be sitting quietly at sunrise, knowing they've been given one more day to live and to love. I want to emphasize one thing. Nurturing faith does not mean you must belong to a specific religion. Sometimes, just holding in your heart the belief that there is a power greater than yourself, whether it is God, the universe, or simply love, is enough to keep your spirit standing strong. And when you have faith, you worry less, you grow less angry, and you live your final days in peace. Once we have faith and peace in our souls, the next truth becomes clearer than ever. The meaning of lifelong learning, keeping the mind sharp and the heart young, even when the hair has turned white. And that is the next piece of advice I want to share. One of the secrets to longevity and joy that I've heard from many elders is this: never stop learning. When the body begins to slow down, it is the mind and curiosity that remind us we are truly living, not just existing. I still remember Eleanor, 89, from Florida. After retirement, many assumed she would spend her days quietly at home. Instead, she decided to enroll in an oil painting class. When I asked her why, she smiled gently and said, "I don't want my mind to fall asleep. I want something new to look forward to each day." And wonderfully, though her first paintings were clumsy, her eyes shone brightly, like a young girl discovering a new game. Science has also proven this. Learning new skills, reading books, playing chess, or even learning to use a smartphone all help the brain form new connections, reducing the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. A brain that is exercised regularly is just like a muscle that is trained. The more it is used, the stronger it becomes. But I want to offer an important reminder. Learning does not mean you must pursue something grand or difficult. Sometimes, simply trying a new recipe, learning a new song, or reading a book you never considered before is enough to bring freshness and meaning into your life. The key is to keep your mind open, always eager to explore. Above all, lifelong learning helps you feel connected to the world, not left behind. The world changes every day, and it is curiosity and the hunger to learn that will keep you feeling young, no matter how old you grow. When the mind is nourished by lifelong learning, life never grows old. And that leads us to the final piece of advice, perhaps the most important one. Live fully in the present, because in the end, the present is the most precious gift life has to offer. Perhaps the greatest lesson old age gives us is an awakening about time. When we are young, we rush toward the future, plans, goals, dreams, or we dwell on the past, lost opportunities, mistakes that cannot be undone. But only when we step into our 70s and 80s do many of us realize the present is the only thing that truly belongs to us. I remember Samuel, 94, from Ohio. Each morning, he sits on the wooden chair of his front porch, slowly sipping a cup of hot tea while watching the sunrise. He told me, "I no longer race against time. I just want to enjoy this breath, this light, this moment." And he smiled, a smile so gentle that anyone sitting across from him would feel their own heart at peace. Science also supports this. Studies on mindfulness show that people who focus on the present tend to have lower stress, better mental health, and even longer lives. Because when the mind is no longer pulled by the past or the future, the body relaxes and finds balance again. And yet, this is one of the hardest lessons to practice, because we are so accustomed to worrying and regretting. Many people only realize the value of the present when they are lying on their deathbed, wishing they had slowed down, spent more time with family, and savored more of life's ordinary moments. That is a wake-up call for all of us. So, living fully in the present does not mean ignoring the future or forgetting the past. It means this: seize every moment you are alive. Cherish every smile, every hug, every simple meal. Because in the end, it is these little things that weave together into a great life. And when we learn to embrace the present, we will no longer fear old age, nor fear tomorrow. Instead, we will feel peace, gratitude, and happiness right here, right now. So today, we have listened together to 9 profound pieces of advice from those who have gone before us. Remember this: the love and bond of a life partner is the strength that nourishes both heart and soul. True friendship will chase away loneliness. Health is the most precious asset that nothing can replace. Forgiveness and letting go of the past bring peace to the heart. Gratitude and cherishing even the smallest things can turn each day into a miracle. A loving and nurturing family creates the greatest place of peace. Faith and spiritual life give us an anchor in uncertain days. Lifelong learning keeps the mind young. And finally, living fully in the present is the most beautiful way to turn old age into the best chapter of life. But there is one big question that many people over 70 often ask themselves. Who should I live with so that old age will not be lonely, and so that life will still be filled with joy and health? This is not just a decision about where to live. It is a secret that can directly affect your longevity and happiness. In the next video, you will hear a 92-year-old man reveal the secret to his long life, and it begins with choosing the right person to live with after 70. I believe his story will make you rethink your own life. If you found today's 9 lessons meaningful, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming video. And I want you to join in right now. Leave a number from 1 to 9 in the comments to share which piece of advice touched you the most. Who knows? Your answer may inspire someone else who needs it. Old age is not the end of the story. It is the opportunity to live more wisely, more deeply, and more joyfully than ever before. I'll see you in the next video.